Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief. You had a sense at the beginning of this week that we might be in for a good one when it came to new model releases, and so far that is absolutely the case. We have not yet seen the much-rumored DeepSeek version 4, but we did get an early preview of Grok 4.20, as well as Sonnet 4.6, which, as you'll see, especially in the context of the OpenClaw conversation, has a lot of people excited. Now, we're going to look at the new models in terms of some benchmarks, of course, as well as first impressions from the peanut gallery, but the big thing that I think is notable, after looking especially at the reactions to Sonnet 4.6, is just how different evaluation of new models is getting. It is much more discrete, much more specific, and honestly much more useful. Yes, sometimes with the big flagship models like Opus 4.6, or I'm sure when we get GPT 5.3 it'll be this way. The question is, how much, if at all, does this push the state of the art? How much does it beat the previous best model in terms of raw capability? Increasingly, however, the discourse is not about just raw capability, but instead a set of questions about what specifically the new model adds to the capability set and how it can be plugged into people's model stack. The questions that people explore are about cost, contextual performance, discrete capabilities, and how those add up to new value around specific use cases. So with that in mind, let's talk about Sonnet 4.6. As has been the case with their previous Sonnet releases, this model is all about delivering more reasonably priced high performance, specifically now in the context of agents. Anthropic writes that it is Opus-level intelligence at a price point that makes it practical for far more tasks. A couple of the key details. One is that it has a 1,000,000 token context window, which is the first time for that in a Sonnet class model. Anthropic describes it as enough to hold entire codebases, lengthy contracts, or dozens of research papers in a single request. Now, that difference in the context window opens up so many use cases that one of the things that will be interesting to watch going forward is how much of Opus's usage was just about that 1,000,000 token context window as opposed to any other performance differentiation. Now, one of the big callouts in terms of new capability set is around computer use. Anthropic writes, almost every organization has software it can't easily automate, specialized systems and tools built before modern interfaces like APIs existed. To have AI use such software, users would previously have had to build bespoke connectors. But a model that can use a computer the way a person does changes the equation. In the 18 months since Anthropic started tracking computer use via the OS World series of benchmarks, the Sonnet models have jumped from a 14.9% all the way up to 72.5% today. The latest jump between Sonnet 4.5 and Sonnet 4.6 was from 61.4 to 72.5. The model certainly still lags behind the most skilled humans at using computers, but the rate of progress is remarkable nonetheless. It means that computer use is much more useful for a range of work tasks and that substantially more capable models are within reach. I think their point that we are on the verge of models that can use computers like humans without APIs is a powerful one. Compared to the previous Sonnet 4.5 model, this model is much stronger on coding benchmarks, being now roughly in line with Opus 4.5. The model is also now state-of-the-art in agentic financial analysis and office task benchmarks, even beating Opus 4.6. The cost is $3 per million input and $15 per million output tokens compared to Opus's $5 and $25, and Sonnet 4.6 is available to free users, which could end up being meaningful. In their testing in Claude Code, Anthropic found that users preferred Sonnet 4.6 over Sonnet 4.5 about 70% of the time. Users, they say, reported that it more effectively read the context before modifying code and consolidated shared logic rather than duplicating it. This, they said, made it less frustrating to use over long sessions than earlier models. Interestingly, they say, users even preferred Sonnet 4.6 to Opus 4.5, the model that launched this huge inflection point that we've been talking about all year, 59% of the time. Those users said that Sonnet 4.6 was significantly less prone to over-engineering and laziness, and meaningfully better at instruction following. One really interesting test was around the vending bench arena, which is a test to see how well different models can run a simulated business over time. They write, Sonnet 4.6 developed an interesting new strategy. It invested heavily in capacity for the first 10 simulated months, spending significantly more than its competitors, and then pivoted sharply to focus on profitability in the final stretch. The timing of this pivot helped it finish well ahead of the competition. All of which is to say that Anthropic is very clearly saying that Sonnet 4.6 is not just a cheaper Opus. It has some things that it does that are unique and highly capable, and it's worthy of consideration on its own terms, not just because of cost. So we haven't had this for long, but what is the state of the conversation? There's been a surprising amount of conversation around rumors of whether this was originally supposed to be Sonnet 5. Veer Masrani writes, rumor going around, Anthropic Sonnet 5 didn't hit internal benchmarks and may ship as Sonnet 4.6 instead. If true, that tells us a few things. The jump from 4.x to 5 was expected to be meaningful. Whatever they tested didn't clear that bar. They'd rather relabel than overpromise. Veer says that either means it's conservative branding or there's a performance plateau. He concludes if they're saving Sonnet 5, then something bigger is still in the oven. If not, we may be entering the era of smaller, hard-won improvements instead of flashy jumps. Without having any privileged information about what's going on inside the company, it is very clear that overall, across all the companies, we are definitely in the era of smaller, harder-won improvements instead of flashy jumps. Although that might not be because of some constraints in the scaling, it might be just a response to consumer expectations and the absolute cudgeling that OpenAI took when the jump to GPT-5 wasn't big enough to get people excited. Others think this is just business strategic. Sean Sullivan writes, I have a feeling that Sonnet 5 has been done for some time now, but it's way cheaper than Sonnet 4.5, and Anthropic still has market leadership in API usage, meaning that they don't have to drop it until someone comes up to compete. Now, in terms of people who have actually used it, the response is pretty good. Aaron Levy from Box writes, we tested Sonnet 4.6 in early access on our Box AI Complex work eval, and it's a big upgrade over Sonnet 4.5, seeing a 15 percentage point jump in performance and accuracy. Sonnet is delivering a huge boost across reasoning capabilities, tool use, working with complex data, and more. All of these, Aaron points out, are necessary improvements for agents to be involved in sophisticated workflows in an enterprise. Reinforcing the idea that this isn't just cheaper Opus, Artificial Analysis writes, Claude Sonnet 4.6 is the new leader in GDP Val, slightly ahead of Anthropic's Opus 4.6 on agentic performance of real-world knowledge work tasks less than 2 weeks after its launch. That said, they did note that in their testing, Sonnet actually used significantly more tokens than previous versions of Sonnet, and meaningfully more than Opus 4.6 as well. That meant that although Sonnet 4.6 slightly beat out Opus 4.6, that the story might not be as simple as, hey, this cheaper model does even better. Basically, the cost for Sonnet to outperform Opus made Sonnet even more expensive than Opus. From a positioning standpoint, Trung Fan pointed out that Anthropic, as focused as they are on enterprises, seems to have made a decision to not totally seed the ground for consumers as well. They point out that in the Sonnet 4.6 demo, they show Claude renewing someone's license plate at the DMV, obviously a very benign, everyday painful type of use case. A lot of the chatter is, of course, around computer use and what that's going to mean, and many are hammering just how important the cost dimension is in the context of what we're using these models for today. Kaelzer writes, the price point thing matters way more than people realize. Running agents that loop hundreds of times per task, dropping to Sonnet tier pricing while staying near Opus level means the same budget goes 5x farther. That's not a minor upgrade, that's a different category of what you can build. Zach Schmal writes, Opus class reasoning at Sonnet pricing means you can actually afford to let agents think harder on every step without blowing through your API budget. That was the real bottleneck. And of course, given where the state of the conversation is right now, a lot of people pointed out its relevance for OpenClaw. OpenClaw super champion Alex Finn writes, this is the best model for OpenClaw ever. It is human level at computer use, the most important part of Claw, for a fraction of the price. Meta Alchemist writes, Sonnet 4.6 feels like it was made for OpenClaw, with how much emphasis they put on running the apps on your computer and tool usage. If you are using Claude with OpenClaw, using Sonnet 4.6 will be faster and cheaper compared to Opus. Prajwal Tomar writes, I burned through a stupid amount of money in 48 hours using Opus 4.6, switched to Sonnet 4.6. It feels almost the same, but costs a fifth as much. For pure coding, Opus is still better. But for agentic workflows inside OpenClaw, Sonnet 4.6 performs nearly as well, and that's what actually matters. When agents are looping, researching, and executing tasks all day, cost efficiency becomes everything. If you're using Opus 4.6 for OpenClaw right now, switch to Sonnet 4.6. You'll save a lot of money without sacrificing real performance. OpenClaw, for its part, very quickly pushed an update to officially support the new model. Summing up the discourse, in their AI News newsletter, Latent Space writes that Sonnet 4.6 matters because 1. Long context, i.e. that 1 million token window, is becoming operational versus just a spec. That 2. Agent performance claims are increasingly harness dependent, meaning that you have to ask not just about model, but where and how it's being used. And that 3. Computer use is becoming a marquee capability. Overall, the vibe is people are excited, and excited especially to try it in their agent systems like OpenClaw. Now, that wasn't the only model we got yesterday. Elon Musk posted, the Grok 4.2 release candidate public beta is now available for use. You need to select it specifically. Critical feedback is appreciated. Unlike prior versions of Grok, 4.2 is able to learn rapidly, so there will be improvements every week with release notes. So this then is a little bit different. It's not a full-on release that has a benchmark scorecard like Sonnet 4.6, nor is it a fixed state where the next set of improvements are going to come with the next model number. Instead, Grok 4.2 itself is supposed to improve over time. Indeed, Elon separately said, Grok 4.2 will be about an order of magnitude smarter and faster than Grok 4 when the public beta concludes next month. Still many bug fixes and improvements landing every day. The public beta gives us more critical feedback to address. Now, one of the things that is extraordinarily difficult anytime we get an XAI model is what I'll call the Elon Rorschach test. If you dislike Elon, and the X algorithm knows that you like content where people are crapping on things that Elon does, you are going to see endless tweets about how 4.2 is just a total POS. On the flip side, if you are an Elon stan, that same X algorithm is going to deliver you a whole slew of tweets about how awesome 4.2 is. Among the very few people that I could find that I think exist in between those two paradigms, first impressions are that it is, if nothing else, improved. Dr. Daria Anutmaz writes, I just got access to Grok 4.20 beta and I'm testing it on biomedical questions. I can already say it has greatly improved. Now, the one specific feature that lots are talking about is the approach that 4.20 takes, where in responding to a prompt, 4 separate agents think on their own, debate amongst themselves, and then come up with the best answer together. Benjamin DeCracker writes, the Grok 4.2 agent teamwork system is cool and appears well done. However, he says, the real value in these multi-agents is when they're not all the same model or even the same provider. A mixed team from 4 different models, Grok, Claude, GPT, and Gemini, is the sweet spot. Ultimately, from where I'm sitting, there is not quite enough available on 4.2 to really know what to make of it. I think the thing that I will be watching most closely is this idea that it itself is going to get better rapidly. Last thing I wanted to flag today isn't a new model release, but a new product release. Normally, I wouldn't necessarily feature this until it had a lot more folks with hands on it, but there's a new platform called Dreamer that seems to be focused on abstracting away all the complexity around agent design to still build the agents that you need to solve your problems. I don't necessarily think that they describe it super well. The announcement tweet calls it a place to discover, build, and enjoy agentic apps, and your home for personal intelligence, whatever the heck that means. But the early users of it did a better job of describing where the value is. Ben Tossell from Ben's Bytes writes, 2026 is the year of the personal agent. Dreamer is the closest I've seen to making that accessible to everyone. In his newsletter, he writes, Dreamer is a platform where you build agentic apps by talking. You describe what you want, and an AI agent called Sidekick builds it for you in minutes. There's also a more detailed coding agent for when you want to go deeper. Either way, you never think about hosting or deployment. The platform handles it all. That's the bit I care about most. I spent a stupid amount of time on infrastructure, getting servers running, keeping things alive, debugging why something crashed. That stuff is fine when you're learning, but it's not the point. The point is the thing you're trying to make. Sidekick learns about you over time and acts as the privacy layer, controlling what data each app in Dreamer can access. It can spin up temporary agents for specific tasks, integrate with third-party tools, and coordinate between your different apps. All of that wiring is done for you out of the box. Sean Wang Swix writes, Dreamer is the most ambitious full-stack consumer and coding agent startup I've ever seen. When this was first demoed to me, my jaw dropped. Now, he writes a lot more, but says, I think Dreamer is the right form factor for mass-adopted personal software agents. You stop fussing over the code. You just use the app and then talk to your sidekick to fix bugs. Sean's belief is that, quote, very unexpected things happen when you let normies build their own AI apps, rather than force them through expensive developers. Basketball apps, knockoff Harry Potter galleries, story times for kids, Caltrain apps. And so far, that seems to be people's early experience. Joanna Stern, formerly of the Wall Street Journal, writes, started testing Dreamer yesterday, and this might be the vibe coding / agent tool for normies. Super simple to build little tools without deploying anything to a server. So to the extent that today we are talking about new models and discrete capabilities, it seems like Dreamer is one to watch. For now, though, that is going to do it for today's AI Daily Brief. Appreciate you listening or watching as always, and until next time, peace.